genre.
To the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I am Scott Corelli.
I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
And we back.
Yeah, we took a much needed hiatus. Apologies everyone who doesn't listen to any of our other shows, and we're just like, what are they doing? Since
Resolution.
Yeah, since Resolution. I mean, we've been really busy. I did a whole season of a podcast.
Remember January of 2019?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I love Januaries.
Yeah. That's nice. They always seem so chill.
Yeah, it's like starting a new book, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone's got a hangover.
Yeah, it's true. The end of the last book that you read was really kind of crappy.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So today on the show, we are discussing the Aztecs, which is the first Doctor 7th story. This is the start of our 7th season of The Long Way Round. So strap in, everybody. It's a real mixed bag of a season. Real mixed bag. We'll talk more about that later on. But yeah, there are highs and there are definitely lows. So we have.
I remember there being some real lows last season, though. Am I right?
I don't remember. That was like a year ago.
Yeah, me neither.
Is last season the one where we had to record that Big Finish episode 3 times? Because I do remember that.
Yeah,
oh,
that
man.
one.
That might have been. You might be right. Let me check.
The one with all like the weird, like manifesto, like sadomasochistic.
Yeah, it was like
Buffy
fan fiction.
That was the season. That was the season before. Minuet in Hell. That was
Minuet
season 5.
Hell.
Season 6 was Invaders from Mars. Was the Big Finish episode?
Oh, I don't even. Oh, the gangster one. Okay, yeah, I do remember that.
Oh yeah, I like that one. I remember it had Jessica Hines and Nate Stevenson in it as like
Yeah.
a Russian
Simon Pegg.
spy, and Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
the Chamberlain himself.
yeah, that was a weird one. But yeah, so this season, we've got, well, I guess we'll get this out of the way in the front since we're already talking about it.
Sure.
This season, we are starting with the Aztecs, which we're talking about today. The next time we get together, we're going to be talking about the evil of the Daleks.
Yes.
Which is a second Doctor story, one of the best, unfortunately not existing. And the funny thing about the evil of the Daleks, which is also the funny thing about the second Doctor lately, right after, I think it was, let's see, I think it was right after we did the Macra Terror, they came out with an animated Macra Terror, and then we just did the faceless ones last season, and they're coming out with the animated faceless ones.
Of course.
And now the rumor is that there's going to be an animated Evil of the Daleks next. So we just keep missing the animated versions of these episodes being released. They always come out right after we cover them and do the reconstructions.
I haven't seen any of the reconstructions. Have y'all?
Yeah. You have. That's what we watch all the time, are the reconstructions, not the animated ones. Yeah. You haven't seen any of the animated ones,
That's
right?
what I meant to say. Yeah, those official Fathom event things that come out.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a couple. They're mixed bags. Like, some of them are really good, and then other ones are like, oh, wow, you guys really went with a cheap animation company on this one, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe if I really enjoyed like the animation style of one, I would be like, oh, I'll check that out. Because that's how I am with any kind of license-based comics, unfortunately, is if it's like, oh, I enjoy looking at this, or if it's from like a writer that I know is like a good writer, then I'll pick up X book because like Kelly Thompson's writing it or whoever, you know?
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, so we're gonna be missing the evil of the Daleks again, or the animated version of a thing again.
I keep picturing like a Dalek wearing like a Pantera shirt.
That's metal. Be cool if there was an episode that was just called "The Metal of the Daleks."
We are metal. They find like Bat Out of Hell on vinyl, and it just becomes like their new god.
They just keep saying we are metal, and not just totally unironically, because they are literally metal.
They're are metal.
Yeah. And like the Doctor's companion's like a metalhead, just like, yeah, throws up the horns.
Oh my god.
The Daleks, what are you doing?
No.
So anyway, the evil of the Daleks. Our third Doctor story this season is the Claws of Axos.
Oh no!
Again, the mixed bag of this season. So we had two pretty strong ones, followed by like a really, really weak one. The Claws of Axos, not good as far as my memory is concerned. Our fourth Doctor story is Planet of Evil, which is very middle of the road for the era that we're in. Okay. We're in a very good era of the fourth Doctor, but Planet of Evil is one of the like more generic ones.
It's like the caretaker of its season.
A little bit, yeah. I think that's fair. Then all-time classics, fifth Doctor story, Time Flight.
Oh, I'm busy that day. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I was looking at the schedule and I thought it said Time Fight at first. I got really excited.
Oh,
yeah, that would be cool. Time Flight set at an airport.
Oh no, that's never good.
I know. So we've got an airport episode of.
At least it's not Heathrow.
Yeah, and it's the Master in Yellowface. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay,
he was basically in Yellowface before.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, Time Flight. Then we have for our sixth Doctor, Revelation of the Daleks. His Dalek episode.
Lots of Daleks this season.
Yeah, there is.
How will Colin Baker handle the Daleks? I'm excited to see that.
Not well. He handles most things. Not
just
well.
Does he just throw the companion at them?
I would not put it past him.
Okay.
Our seventh Doctor story is Silver Nemesis, his Cybermen story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I do not remember at all. I don't remember anything about it. Yeah. Then we have an all-time great story for our eighth Doctor story, The Chimes of Midnight.
Nice.
Which is it's like a top 3 for him. Like it's one of the best eighth Doctor stories ever.
Oh, cool! I love when the audio ones are really good.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one. This is gonna be one. This is gonna be one that you're gonna be able to curl up with and really enjoy, I think. Mm-hmm. And speaking of really enjoying one, we have the ninth Doctor story this season is Father's Day, which is an all-time great one. Mm-hmm. Very excited about rewatching that episode. And then one of my absolute least favorite 10th Doctor stories, The Idiot's Lantern, which I am not looking forward to Rose and 10 being bullies and calling people morons.
I will never remember which one this is until I start watching it, and then I will remember everything about it.
Yeah. It's the Daddy-O episode.
Oh, it's the one where they go back to the 60s and he's got the hair.
Yep.
And the TVs are evil. Okay, yeah,
yep.
I remember everything about it.
I think it's the 50s, but yes.
60s.
He
50s,
definitely has.
Right.
Yeah, he definitely has the hair for sure. And cool. She has a poodle on her skirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Name Rose.
It's just one of the worst things. Anyway, terrible episode. And then we have the incredibly generic and boring 11th Doctor story, The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood 2-parter.
Yeah, the weird like war room doctor like conference episode with the
Silurians. Yeah,
Silurians.
Yeah, it's It's not even bad. It's just like, man.
It's 2 parts too.
It's 2 parts. It's not even that it's bad. It's that it's 2 parts.
Is that Chibnall?
It sure is.
Oh,
yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think the most interesting thing about watching that episode this season is we're following having seen his first season as showrunner, and I feel like looking back now on his season as showrunner, he really just made a full season of The Hungry Earth Cold Blood, just like the whole season is that. It's like that's like the vibe he went with. I think Nick was hoping for dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Sure.
But that's not the Chibnall we got. We got Hungry Earth Cold Blood Chibnall, and I think that's part of the problem with that season.
I do remember some really solid Matt Smith moments in these, though, in those 2.
Yeah, that's true. There's always solid Matt Smith episode. That's the thing. Even in bad episodes of Doctor Who, the Doctor tends to be like the bright spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in most cases. And then there's more, because this is the season where we are starting our rewatch of the 12th Doctor, starting with Deep Breath to wrap up season 7 of the show.
Return of the Owl Wizard.
Yep. You betcha.
I'm excited. I don't think I've watched that since we covered it the first time.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited because I remember I really liked that story a lot, and you guys were both pretty lukewarm on it. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody's opinions change.
I was in college.
Oh man, you were.
Mm-hmm.
That was so long ago.
Yeah. So see, it'll be like watching it for the first time.
It definitely will.
There's
a lot of beers.
I think in general, I think it just feels like it's about time now. Now we're a season into the Doctor after him. Now it's like it feels right to go back and start with him again.
He's about to be in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No idea who he's going to play, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think of like DC villains that he could be playing.
Sure.
And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe like he could be like an old Riddler. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Or like Sinestro because of those eyebrows.
Oh man, he would be a great Sinestro. Holy moly.
Wow.
That'd be amazing. Anyway.
Well, on to the adventure at hand.
Yeah, so that's the plan this season, but we're starting off today with the Aztecs. The Aztecs is one of I would say it tends to be like the first Doctor story that people recommend to new to Classic Who viewers. As like this is the one that you should start with, is the Aztecs, because it feels like Doctor Who. It feels like they've mostly figured it out, and it's a pretty solid sort of standalone thing. And I think that it mostly works. You know, there are obvious things that do not work in this that I'm sure that we'll get to. But I think it is one of his strongest stories, especially for, of the ones that exist, because he's got some goodies that are missing, unfortunately. But as far as the ones that exist, this is a pretty good one. This was the when BBC America was doing was celebrating the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, and were showing episodes like stories from each Doctor, like, just sort of being like, oh, here's an example of this Doctor, here's an example of this Doctor, and they were doing like one of those a week leading up to the 50th anniversary, I think. And this was the story that was chosen for the first Doctor.
Cool.
Was the Aztecs. So I've seen this one a lot. I think I've seen this one, other than An Unearthly Child, I think I've seen this one more than any other first Doctor story. Just through happenstance. Not on purpose, but it is what it is. So the Aztecs, this actually came as Donald Baverstock, the BBC chief of programs, he had, the Doctor Who had become a large enough hit that he consented to a further 10 episodes of Doctor Who beyond the initial 26, and then a month and a half later agreed to the back 16, leading to 16, no, not 16, 12? Back 12? I don't know. The final count of episodes for Doctor Who's first season was 52 episodes, one a week. It was a weekly show, and it did not have any breaks, which is why actors would take vacation, and so the characters would just be missing from episodes. The Aztecs was Carol Ann Ford's turn to take 2 weeks off, and so they actually pre-recorded the two scenes that she has, one in episode 2 and one in episode 3. They recorded during the filming of episode 1 of the Aztecs, and then she got 2 weeks off while they recorded the rest of it. So this was her vacation episode, and then you have the writer of this story, John Lucarotti, John Lucarotti, who wrote Marco Polo, was invited to return by David Whitaker, the story editor of the show, to write another historical episode. And while Marco Polo had been written by Lucarotti based on research he had done for a Canadian program several years earlier, the Aztecs was basically inspired by his time living in Mexico. So he became fascinated by the Aztec culture and fascinated by all of the enormous strides they took in astronomy and medicine and agriculture, but then never forged any metal weapons and were ignorant of the potential of the wheel. There were no wheels in Aztec culture, and he found that fascinating. And of course, the fact that they practiced human sacrifice. So he wanted to use the Aztecs as the next historical that he was going to write, and so he wrote this one. And it was, a pretty standard production. Nothing crazy. They did continue their battle with the BBC over trying to get out of Lime Grove Studios because they hate Lime Grove Studios because it's antiquated, and it was very difficult to produce the show in there, as seen in the Adventure in Space and Time biopic. Would you call that a biopic? I don't know what you would call that.
Is it a biopic if it's about a group of people? Or
yeah,
an idea?
Right. I know. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't call. I don't know if I would call Saving Mr. Banks a biopic. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, in any event, in Adventure of Space and Time, we saw their struggles with Lime Grove Studio, and they were continuing those struggles and tried to get a new studio space from the BBC. Eventually, they relented and gave them two studio spaces at the BBC's studio space. But unfortunately, the two spaces that they gave them were really just kind of a middle finger to the whole production, because they were these tiny, narrow studio spaces that they really couldn't do anything with. And while they built sets, one of the sets that they built in this story, the garden set, which they built for episode 1 with plans to come back to in later episodes, and the BBC literally tore apart all of their that entire set, and so they had to rebuild it, which is why it looks completely different from episode 1 to episodes 2 through 4. Because they basically had to rebuild it from scratch and rent a bunch of plants to cover up the very minimal background paintings that they had left, because the BBC just tore apart all of their stuff and just threw it out. So they were not happy, and it was a little bit of a struggle, and they would continue to debate the BBC on the merits of allowing Doctor Who to film at BBC Studios rather than Lime Grove. So that yeah, so it's they were this was a bit of a struggle on that front, but in general this was a pretty low key episode to film.
The Aztecs, Part 1. Temple of Evil, written by John Lucarotti, directed by John Crockett, produced by Verity Lambert. Air date, May 23rd, 1964. Barbara and Susan are desecrating an Aztec crypt after the TARDIS lands in 15th century Mexico. Susan doesn't like that the Aztecs performed human sacrifice. Barbara doesn't like it either, but she does like the Aztec bracelet she found lying around. So she decides to keep it for herself, as any educator would. They find a secret hole in the wall of the crypt, and Barbara goes through it to find herself face to face with real ancient Aztecs. The High Priest of Knowledge, Otlok, is hostile towards Barbara until he sees the bracelet she's wearing. Then he becomes certain that Barbara is a god. Otlok finds the Doctor and Ian and tells them this new god called Yetaxa wants to meet with them. On the way, they meet Tloxl, the High Priest of Sacrifice, who is much less chill than Otlok. The Doctor and Ian meet Barbara, who is now fully in the weeds with this being a god thing. Tloxl convinces Otlok that Ian, primary school science teacher, would be an excellent Aztec warrior, and takes him to meet Ixta, the toughest Aztec warrior there is. The Doctor explores the Garden of Peace, where the Aztecs send their olds to wait peacefully for death, and even has a nice meet-cute with Kameka, a retired philosopher. The Doctor thinks he can use his wolfish charm on Kameka to help him get his TARDIS out of the Aztec tomb. In order to keep their cover, Ian has to help human sacrifice a guy. Barbara is outraged and wants to use her powers as a god to end human sacrifice for the Aztecs forever, so that when the brave and noble Spanish conquerors come in a few years, maybe they won't completely annihilate the Aztec people and their way of life. The Doctor tells Barbara that, while she's British and therefore correct, they can't do anything to alter the course of history. Nevertheless, Barbara stops the ritual, insulting the man who was intended to be sacrificed to the rain god. A believer to the end, the man leaps off the top of the tomb to fulfill his sacrifice, and the rains come. Barbara still tells Tloxl there will be no sacrifices. Not now, not ever. Tloxl vows to expose Barbara for the fraud that she is, and defend his religious beliefs.
So, I love that this episode begins with, like, the TARDIS lands, and then Barbara just, like, immediately walks out and starts playing with the dead guy's jewelry.
Right?
just like immediately, she's just like, ooh, shiny, and then just starts putting it on, and this is like what causes the problem of the whole story, is that she just starts putting on jewelry from this dead guy's tomb, and doesn't seem bothered by it. I think Susan's a little weirded out by it, but like Barbara's like, it's fine.
It's hers by right, Scott. She's British,
right? Of course. Yeah. So she just like wanders around this tomb and just starts putting stuff on, and it's very off-putting. I don't know. And Barbara's just like, no, it's fine. Like, I know what I'm doing. I studied
I'm
this
a
stuff.
teacher.
Yeah. There's a few lines in this story that I found really interesting as to the future of Doctor Who. You know, we're very early on in the show at this point, and every once in a while someone will say something that I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, because they had no idea, and yet it almost sounds like they're making a reference to a future thing. And one of those is when Susan specifically is talking about the Aztecs, which she apparently knows all about, and knows that they sacrifice people, and then mentions the fact that they that they cut out people's hearts, and then like shudders, and it was specifically like, I know that she's saying that, like, okay, people is plural, and they have plural hearts. But it's just, I don't know. There was something about the way that she said it that it was like, oh, it almost sounds like she's talking about how like Time Lords have two hearts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously they had no idea that was a thing yet, but I just found it interesting.
No, but yeah, and it's sort of it's led to a new appreciation for what people like, Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies were able to do with this reboot and choose to connect it in such interesting and organic ways to these old episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So then, of course, dumb old Susan sets off a trapdoor, and which lets them all out, but doesn't let them come back inside, which is kind of honestly, it's a fun concept. I think, like as far as what the main problem in this story is, which is like, well, they designed these the door on this tomb so that like if a god like woke up in the tomb, they could get out easily, because they wouldn't be able to otherwise. Being gods, they just use doors like normal people, I guess. But they make it so that they can get out, but then like no one can get in, like grave robbers or things like that. So it's kind of a interesting, like one-way door scenario where the TARDIS is trapped in the tomb because that's where it appeared, and now they have to figure out a way to get back into the tomb, despite the fact that there doesn't seem to be a way. And I think that's I think it's a really interesting impetus for the story that we're going to get. I mean, these early episodes are all about problem solving more than anything.
Yeah.
There's not usually like a grand like thematic thing. There's not like a lot of like allegory or metaphor or theme or philosophy or anything like that in these early episodes. It's really about like, well, we have a problem. How can we creatively solve the problem? Especially in these early episodes where it's like, we're going to solve it through history and science and maths.
Yeah. It's still, when the show still saw itself primarily as like an educational tool for children.
Right. Which is ironic looking at this story now, that they thought that this was,
well, I don't know.
Educational.
I was pretty impressed with the, the care that was taken in for the time with everything from the art design, the costuming. It just seemed for the time to have a real appreciation for Aztec culture, and and learning that John Lucarotti actually spent time in Mexico. It shows. For the time, for the 60s, it shows a real curiosity and appreciation for Aztec culture for the time that I appreciated watching it. Yeah, in 2019.
I mean, brown face notwithstanding. And
that's near, but that's so inescapable. Right, that it almost is like, I don't know. For me, it almost like checks out. Of
sure.
Like, well, okay, there it is.
Right. Not to like really like give them a free pass on this, but also I don't know that there were a great number of Mexicans in Europe in the 1960s.
Oh yeah. It's like,
I feel like that's probably safe to say.
Sure, yeah, and it's just so. I don't know. It's such a product of the time, and I'm of the mind that it's important for us to watch stuff in context and be like, oh yeah, this is what they used to do.
Sure.
I don't want to burn all of it.
Yeah, well, and at the very least, it's not like any of them are doing like a Mexican caricature or anything like that. There's a disconnect, I guess, between like, I don't know even if like I don't know if they see Mexicans as connected to Aztec. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's true. But at least it's not like Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But just a shout out to Tlaloc, actual rain god of the Aztec people. Often pictured as a man wearing a net of clouds.
Shout out to the rain god.
Yeah. That's what we all used to say.
What's up, Holmes?
Well, they get.
What's up, Tlaloc?
So Barbara gets caught in the temple, And they're like, what are you doing here? How did you get in here? And then he sees the bracelet that she stole off the dead guy and is like, wait a minute. Are you our god? And she's like, I guess so.
Yes, I am.
That means that I'm not going to die. Cool.
When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara knows what's up.
Barbara watched Ghostbusters. She gets it.
That's the first thing the doctor did.
Yeah. Like, you got to see this.
It's coming out in like 20 years. You're going to see it early. It's called Ghostbusters.
Oh my God. That was only 20 years after this.
What?
That is off-putting.
Yes. 64, 84.
Wow.
Yeah. That is a shorter amount of time than today is from like Scream.
Yeah, and then it would be like if in Ghostbusters, someone went up to Venkman and was like, "Hey, you want to see this crazy movie coming out in 20 years called Spider-Man 2?"
Oh man, that's so weird. God, that's so weird.
Time is so strange.
Oh man, no, I mean it's like watching The Matrix. Like now, like that was 20 years ago. The Matrix.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like somebody going to someone after they get out of the Matrix and they're like, "Hey, you want to watch It Chapter 2?"
What?
What?
You're going to see the silliest damn clown you've ever seen in your whole life.
See, in the last one, he was doing a Scooby-Doo impression. This time, he's Winnie the Pooh for some reason.
Yes! I've never felt more connected to you. Great.
I don't know. For some reason, he just switched impressions. I don't.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's me, Pennywise.
Oh, I'm just a silly old clown.
You want to talk to a silly old clown like me?
Oh, bother.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway. The movie's fine, you guys. It's fine.
A fun movie.
It's just his like I don't understand why he changed up his impression. I mean, the Scooby-Doo one was bad enough, but
I guess he had 20 years to think about his act.
Yeah, I guess so. He's like, you know what? Maybe Winnie the Pooh is the better approach here.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, he got his kicks in this one.
Yeah. He ate like twice as many people in this one.
I was going to say, yeah, he actually, like, he was more threatening, and what the hell are we doing? Okay, so...
Anyway. So anyway, there's the priest, right? The high priest. Yeah. I love the high priest is like, so like the rest of the team, they get out. And Susan's like, yeah, Barbara got taken, and they're like, what?
Must
and then
be
they
Thursday.
come out, and the priest is like, it's just like, oh, you are part of our God's team. Welcome. I honor you. And the doctor is just like, I do not trust being honored because I know what that leads to.
Yeah,
and you know what? He was right.
Yeah, I really love the doctor in this episode. The world. I don't know. He kind of floats above everything in a really fun way. Mm-hmm. He almost kind of reminds me of like Todd and BoJack Horseman in this one. Where like, I don't know. His thing is kind of like, his plot is kind of madcap.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so like in this, I guess, Ian is sort of, they're like, hey, you want to fight our guy? And he's like, not really. And they're like, oh,
I'm a science teacher.
Yeah. He's like, they're just like, oh, well, that's a weird thing. Cause like, it seems weird that you wouldn't want to fight our guy since you work for that god lady. And he's like, oh yes, you are right. I will fight your guy, I guess. And so his whole plot in this whole story is about how he's going to fight this guy.
It's the best.
So, and I know it's been a minute since we were hanging out with these goofballs, but there's like a scene where Ian goes to meet Ixta, the guy, the other, Ixta, yeah, the soldier. Yeah. Like, I'm the guy, dude.
Yeah.
And there's like
played by Jason Momoa.
Yeah. guy. And so there's like a scene. There's like a scene where Ian like puts him in like a finger hold, like a choke hold, and like yeah, you didn't. No, I would. When
is that in this one?
No, that might be episode 2. You're right.
Yeah, I think maybe that is this one. I don't know, but I love Ian's like space bird armor that they put him in.
Hell yeah!
He's like weirdly like an action hero in this one.
Yeah, there's few things that I love more than this show just demanding that we take William Russell seriously as an action star. They're just like, no, this guy's a man's man. Look at him. I know he's a science teacher, but he's a man's man.
The show is kind of doing what the Aztec are doing to Ian, which is like, well, you're a dude, so you have to be like the action hero guy in this story.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he seems fine with it. He seems really into the fact that like they want him to be this action hero guy. It's so lame though. He's the lamest.
It's the
He's
best.
Just like, he reminds me of in the Adventures of Pete and Pete, the strongest man in the world or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what he reminds me of.
For sure.
Strongest man in the world. He's just like this scrawny guy that runs down the street. I don't know.
So I want to bring something up to you guys that I noticed watching this. So in this episode, there are 2 high priests. Otlok, which is sort of like the round, benign, kind of chill, skeptical priest. And then we have Taloxel, who's like the scheming, I don't know if you're a god.
Is it Taloxel, or is it Latoxel? Because it's pronounced both ways in the episode.
I went back a few before recording just to like, okay, I want to hear them say their names, just see if I'm saying it right. And then they were pulling that crap.
Yeah, it's like Latoxel. Like most of the time, and then whenever William Hartnell pronounces it, it's Latoxel. Like he's like, the T is
you
silent.
can't trust anything William Hartnell says though. Like he doesn't say his lines.
I know, but
if I'm going on camera, I'm going on speaking the kings.
But then it's also like that kind of makes sense to me. The idea that like a T and an L, the T would be silent. Latoxel and Latoxel sounds better.
Yeah, there's there's a whole. I just got done reading this book where it went into the whole like the place of the X and like the Maya and like their way of pronouncing stuff. But like, okay, so we have our hero pretending to be a god while constantly evading the skepticism and earning the trust of a benign priest and a kind of more nefarious evil priest. This is Road to El Dorado.
Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah. Tlatoxel is the guy who plays him, John Ringham, really good.
He's a great Doctor Who villain for this early era.
He's so creepy. The way that he kind of just slimes his way up next to someone's face and looks at them like in this like crooked way.
Yeah.
He's just so creepy. He reminds me of Cass. What's the dude that the dude in Lord of the Rings who's like the voice of Chucky?
Wormtongue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He reminds me of Wormtongue. That's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, I really buy his like passion. He really kind of nails the pulp Shakespeare of classic Who. Where right away you're like, oh, this dude really wants to be in charge, right. And he's kind of, and I buy him being insulted by Barbara. When he finds out more about what Barbara's doing, he's like, wait, no,
yeah, well, yeah, and that's the thing that kills me is like he's in the right the entire story. She's like, I am a god. He's like, no, you're not, and she's like, how dare you? You're a villain. And he's like, what? Like you're lying.
I can tell
us.
You're evil by the face paint around your mouth. You're evil, sir.
You probably sacrifice people, you evil person.
And I mean, he does sacrifice people, but like to be fair, they're into it.
They love it.
They love it. Like he tries to sacrifice somebody in front of her, and she's like, no. And then the guy's like, how dare you dishonor me? And then he just goes and like jumps off the building.
Yeah. True millennial.
Yeah. Also, as they are presenting Barbara as Yetaxa, the god, I love this moment because she's presented to an off-camera audience that's like supposed to be this big, massive thing, and it's just like it's like a canned like live studio audience. This is like one of those instances where like I feel like this episode, the scale of this episode could be greatly improved if they did like that Star Trek the original series like special edition thing that they did to that. If they did that to this and just like added some scale to this story, and like they're in this like massive Aztec society, and you never get that sense really until like the last episode. You get to see like a nice view of like the whole I don't know, concept
with
whatever.
like the matte paintings and stuff.
Yeah. You get like a larger context there, but like in this episode when she just like walks into a close up, and then you just hear, and then she just looks worried and then steps away, and then he tries to cut somebody's heart out, and then that guy leaps to his death. He's like just goes full Midsummer
because for sure, because it's like it's a thing of honor. He's about to be he's about to be fed to the gods.
Yeah. Oh man, that was really shocking.
I'm so startled.
I think we should keep an open mind. Yeah, no, Barbara, that was really shocking, but I think we should keep an open
Oh my God, this is Midsummer. This is Road to El Dorado and Midsummer.
Yeah, it's a combination of the two. Oh, anyway, that's then this is when that guy leaps to his death and Barbara's really upset. That's what sort of keys off Tlatoxel to be like, I think you might be fake, and I'm going to prove it. And Barbara's like, uh-oh, and that's how this one ends.
Uh-oh. The Aztecs, Part 2, The Warriors of Death. Written by John Lucarotti. Directed by John Crockett. Produced by Verity Lambert. Script edited by David Whitaker. Air date, May 30th, 1964. The Doctor really tears into Barbara for trying to alter history. Susan gets sent to a seminary to learn the ins and outs of being an Aztec bride. Ian and Ixta train for their upcoming fight with each other, but somewhere along the way, they find something else. They find something more. Tlatoxel is horrified when Otlok tells him he plans to make Ian, primary school science teacher, the new leader of the Aztec warriors. Tlatoxel offers Ixta untold riches if he can kill Ian during their upcoming fight. The Doctor and Kameka get to know one another while wandering around the Garden of Peace. He convinces Kameka to let him meet with the son of the designer of the tomb his TARDIS is trapped in. Tlatoxel tries to get the truth out of Barbara, but when he can't, he locks her inside of her tomb. Ixta, the son of the tomb designer, meets with the Doctor in the Garden of Peace. The Doctor gives Ixta a poison needle to help him win some fight with some guy he has later, in exchange for showing him blueprints of the tomb. Barbara tries to teach some good old-fashioned Western civility to Otlok. Later, she meets with the Doctor, who explains to him that he may have inadvertently helped kill Ian. The Doctor is arrested by Tlatoxel for talking to Barbara while she's in Tomb Out. Ixta and Ian battle it out on the roof of the one temple these Aztecs have. Ian has the upper hand until Ixta scratches him with the Doctor's poison needle. Tlatoxel tells Ixta to kill Ian. Otlok says Yetaxa has forbade human sacrifice, and just then, Barbara herself appears to stop the fight.
We get this, like, big-time, like, Time Lord Doctor moment of, like, no interfering. And it's really, like, weird. hearing him talk like that, because he's like, the most interfering. He interferes with everything. I don't know.
He's not there yet in his trajectory though. Like,
yeah, First
Doctor is the most weird. Rules sticklery of all of them.
Yeah.
And I think I like that because it kind of reminds me, like what we were talking about earlier, of how the classic stuff informing the new stuff. Because David Tennant has said that exact same thing. He goes back on it, but he's just no, we can't change history and stuff like that.
Like the Pompeii episode.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I thought about that episode a lot while watching this one. Yeah. But So
is this the first no interfering speech?
I don't think so. I feel like it's happened before this.
I don't remember.
Maybe not as
pointed.
Maybe not as specifically as this one is. But I do feel like he's warned them before of don't mess stuff up, you jerks.
Mm-hmm.
You dummies.
Check your privilege, Barbara.
Well, because Barbara's motivation is I'm going to stop human sacrifice altogether, so when Cortez shows up, they don't kill all the Aztecs. And I'm okay, that's solid, I guess.
Yeah,
but
her logic is that maybe when the Spanish come and they don't seem as, quote, barbaric or, whatever, brutal, then they won't be which is I think vastly, overestimating the civility of the Spanish.
Yes. Cortez would just be yeah, they seem like nice people. Anyway, we should kill them because this is our land now.
Yeah, I'm sure the Skeksis would have been super chill to the Podlings if they weren't so gross.
Oh, man. This is also the episode where we get to see Ian's Vulcan neck pinch.
Yeah, which I was when did he learn? Did the PE teacher teach him that?
I don't know. I think the idea of it is supposed to be he's a science teacher, so he knows biology, so he knows where to thumb somebody into submission. I don't know.
This Aztec warrior.
Yeah. Of course they think they're oh, it's magic. I think it's interesting because Ian keeps doing stuff, all of them keep doing stuff that they're oh, this'll trick them. They'll believe that we're gods or whatever now, and then every time they do it, Tlatoxel is just nah, I still don't buy it. Every time, they just are oh, these stupid ignorant Aztecs. And Tlatoxel's nah, I'm not that ignorant. I might believe in human sacrifice, but I think this whole thumb thing is BS.
Yeah. They're also able to create entire civilizations and industry and aggregate. Yeah, I know. But for some reason, even that rang true to me. Of these 360s white people would be look, thumbs. Look at what I'm able to.
Fire.
Yeah,
we've had that for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, we forgot to mention this in the previous episode, but Kamika and her relationship with the Doctor, which is just a lot of ignorant flirting. The Doctor has no idea that he's flirting with this woman.
Yeah. Is the Coco thing in this episode?
I think that's episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that's episode 3. No, they just continue to meet in the garden and flirt.
Yeah, so there's a point where they're we keep all of our old people in this garden to wander about an RPG and wait for someone to come up to them and ask them a thing that only an old person would know.
This is our old people garden. Welcome.
I made Norman watch this episode with me because I was just oh man, Ian fights a guy dressed like a jaguar and it's fun. So the old people garden came up and he was just wow, this is a really Game of Thrones vibe because everyone just keeps meeting in the garden.
True. He's not wrong. Yeah. There's a lot of mostly machinations and scheming and alliances turning is like the bulk of this episode's drama.
Yeah.
There's very little like quest gathering.
You know, there is a distinct lack of Aztec stuff in films. Like, there's a lot of like horror movies and like fantasy films where they like go to an Aztec temple and stuff, but like, I mean, literally like a movie set during the Aztec times about Aztecs.
Sure, you know, we have Apocalypto, you know, but depicting the Maya.
Right.
We have, you know, we've already brought up Road to El Dorado, which, as I get older, I'm learning is a genuine piece of, you know, it holds a place in a lot of Latin Americans' hearts because it's one of the few examples of like, oh yeah, like Xibalba and like the new Dora movie had some really cool stuff in it. Genuinely, shout out to the Dora movie.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's just weird that no one's ever made like an Aztec like gladiator. You know?
You know, unfortunately, well, you know, thanks to the Spanish, there's not a lot of like our mythology left or like our history left. There's not a lot to go on. But yeah, I totally agree. I think there's there's hundreds and hundreds of stories that could easily be like, you know, Ridley Scott epics. And I think this episode is I think that I could tell that John Lucarotti does have like a genuine, like, he gets why the Aztecs are rad. They're so advanced and they're so above, but then they're also sacrifice and brutal and blood and the warrior.
Yeah, there could be like a cool like Guillermo del Toro like epic film about the Aztecs. That'd be dope.
Or Robert Rodriguez should get to do one. He should get to do his like From Dusk Till Dawn prequel, where it's like how the temple got there.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's like the whole act 2 of that movie is that they're under a temple.
Wow, I totally forgot about that. Man.
I heard I heard that's what the show really goes into, is like that mythology.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen the show.
Why would you?
Well, yeah, I guess I don't really like the movie, so yeah. All right, fair enough. I don't know. There's a line in this garden scene in this episode where this is another piece of dialogue that feels like it's hinting at something that it's not actually hinting toward at all. But in retrospect, it looks like it is. It's like a nice internal retcon, which is where Kamika tells the doctor that his heart is young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, because he's the first doctor. Like he's not really that old yet, even though he is old. He's not really old. I don't know. Yeah. So I just keep noticing stuff like that in this episode that I was like, oh, it's kind of fun. I like that. Another reason why this is a go-to like new to classic Who episode is because there's a lot of stuff like that where you can like, look, see, they knew what they were doing the whole time. They didn't though.
You can tell there's a lot of what writers like Stephen Moffat or Chris Chibnall or Mark Gatiss, a lot of what they probably loved about Doctor Who when they were 11 is in this episode. Yeah,
for sure. So we get introduced to the main crux of Susan's plot in this story, which is Susan learning to be a good wife, which is a big ol' yikes, especially considering, she has no issues with all of the stuff that she's memorized about how to be a good wife until they get to the part where she can't choose her husband. Like everything else, she's totally fine with. She's fine with not owning property. She's fine with not having a job. She's fine with like making the home clean, all of that
I love
stuff.
Susan.
But it was just so interesting to see, like, in the 60s, their idea of like one step too far is just that she can't choose her husband.
Now hold on.
All those other things are true, but this one,
I don't know. For some reason, that just all seems so. It seems to fit so specifically with Susan, who is just my favorite weird character.
She would
be so instantly so good in any cult.
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
yeah, she just it feels like she just believes anything anyone tells her.
I mean, it's not like she isn't like not doing all those things already. Like, I mean, I know she's 16, but like she doesn't have a job. She kind of like watches after the doctor. She's just like,
she's sort of her steward already.
Yeah.
She cleans up the TARDIS. Yeah, it's true. The only thing that she does occasionally that I guess makes her different is that she like listens to rock music on vinyl occasionally. And does a little finger dance while she's listening.
Oh my god! I just want her to come back. I want them to like meet. I want another actress to play Susan. I want Jodie Whittaker to like have to hang out with her granddaughter, and she's just like bizarre.
That'd be so good.
It's like the Brady Bunch movie where she's still like trapped in the 60s.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be really good. I would like that a lot. So we get to see Ixta's leopard armor.
Yeah,
which is it's like a knight's armor except it's made of leopard.
So one interesting that I read about the costume design is they had to add clothing to the disservice of historical accuracy because the Aztecs didn't wear a lot of clothes.
Sure,
they were like, well, this isn't gonna fly on the BBC, so they had to like add robes and armor on everybody,
which is interesting because it's in black and white. Like they could have just put them into like a beige colored
bodysuit,
bodysuit, and then they could wear whatever, and they're not actually naked, but like they kind of look like they are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would have been fine
for sure.
It didn't even have to be beige. It could have been like light gray, and like no one would know the difference. But yeah, I love that his head like sticks out of the mouth of the leopard, like a I don't know, like a helmet, like a knight's helmet. I don't know.
It's kind of cool. It's almost like a historical fantasy. Like this is a British knight European version of like what an Aztec warrior might have looked like.
Right. Were there leopards in
Mexico? Yeah, in the jungles of South America.
Yeah, there's like jaguars and stuff.
Oh, okay. Is this a leopard or a jaguar?
I have to go back to the tape.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, the doctor basically comes up with this plan of like, okay, I need to find a way to get into the tomb. It's a one-way door. There's got to be another way in there. So I need to get the plans for the tomb. I got to read the blueprints to the tomb. You guys, do you think Aztecs had blueprints?
I don't know.
I actually don't know if they kept like record that wasn't like, I don't know if they had like I'm drawing a blank.
Was there like paper? Did they have paper?
No.
No, they had did they even have parchment or anything like that?
I want to say that I'm a little bit more familiar with the Maya than the Aztec, and the Maya are earlier. So I don't know if they had developed like keeping paper record or bound record.
Yeah, I don't know
of like the stars or like the crops that year or like
it seems questionable to me just because like I can't imagine. I mean, like the Egyptians, they like figured out the pyramid and then they just kept building the same one over and over again. Or I guess having their slaves do it, to be more accurate.
Sure.
But it's interesting. I don't know. The idea of like he needs the blueprints for the tomb so he can find another way into that.
Here we go.
Into that room.
Amati. The Amati was a type of bark paper that was manufactured. Never mind.
Oh, I think because because the Egyptians had papyrus, they had like paper, but the reason there's so much of Egypt preserved well is because of the climate. Like, it's very dry. So even if they had paper, I feel like it would be decayed because of the humidity in the tropics.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Well, anyway,
Science.
He needs the blueprints. He needs the blueprints, and he thinks can get it for him. And Kamika goes and talks to Ixta and is like, hey, you need to go talk to him. So he goes and talks to him. And he's like, I'm the son of the guy who built that thing. I know where the blueprints are. And he's like, cool. Give me the blueprints. And he's like, can you do something for me? I've got a fight going on. I want to win. And he's like, oh, cool. Here, scratch him with this. And he's like, dope. And then he leaves because he's going to go get him the blueprints. But really, there are no blueprints. And he was lying, and he just wanted to win his fight against Ian.
So then the doctor just tells a stranger how to kill a guy.
Yeah. Inadvertently, he doesn't realize that he's done it to Ian. He has no idea.
You know what I would do is cheat like a bastard.
Yeah. Because despite the fact that he was there when Ian agreed to a fight, the doctor just believes there's so many fights going on at any time in Aztec culture that there's no way that the two things could be connected.
I also love how every Aztec character in this pronounces Ian's name like Ian. Like it's
Ian.
It's the best.
Why won't you fight me, Ian?
And then we get the fight, and the fight is basically a hugging match to the death.
Mm-hmm. It makes Star Trek look like The Raid.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh boy, they just hug each other to death. That's what their plan is. And then Ixta slashes him when the doctor distracts him accidentally. He distracts him by trying to warn him of the thing that's going to scratch him, and in doing so allows Ixta an opportunity to scratch him with the thing.
Yeah.
Which apparently just like makes him weak, I guess. Drugs him up.
The doctor is almost more of a hindrance in this episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then Barbara's like, no, stop it. And Tlatoxel is like, if you were really a god, you'd be able to stop it yourself. And then that's where the episode ends.
You're not a god, you're a naughty girl.
Yeah. She's like stepping toward the fight to go like break it up, but she's like scared because she's not a god. So there's no possible way that a human being could stop this fight.
No.
This battle of the hugs.
No mortal could tear these two apart. These
They're
warriors of death. The Aztecs, Part 3, The Bride of Sacrifice. Written by John Lucarari. Directed by John Crockett. Produced by Verity Lambert. Script edited by David Whitaker. Air date June 6th, 1964. Barbara straight up pulls a knife on Tlatoxel and orders him to stop the fight. He does so. Later, Barbara continues to try and convince Otlok that human sacrifices are barbaric and will be the single factor leading to the destruction of Aztec civilization. Back in the Garden of Peace, the Doctor convinces Tlatoxel that the only way to be sure that Yetaxa is a real god is by going back to the tomb where his TARDIS is. Ian and Ixta's bond only grows deeper now having known each other in the field of combat. Ian overhears Tlatoxel hatching a plan to poison Barbara. If she's a god, she won't die horribly, thus proving her divinity. The Doctor accidentally marries Kameka by sharing a cup of cocoa with her. Ian sneaks into the tomb to warn Barbara about being poisoned. Tlatoxel visits Barbara with some wine. Ian, hiding behind a pillar or something, warns her not to drink it. Barbara asks Tlatoxel to drink first. When he doesn't, because it's poisoned, Barbara tells Tlatoxel the truth. She is faking it. And if he tells anyone that she's not a god, she's going to have him murdered by his own people. Meanwhile, at the Garden of Peace, the Doctor learns that he accidentally married Kameka and decides it's time to leave 15th century Mexico. Otlok is impressed by Susan's progress in her bride lessons, but she still thinks she should get to decide which Aztec warrior she can marry. Tlatoxel overhears this and thinks he can use this knowledge to expose Barbara at last. He tells Barbara that Susan has to be punished for her radical views on marriage. Barbara tries to get Susan out of being punished, which finally starts to raise Otlok's suspicions. Meanwhile, Ian and the Doctor try to break into the Aztec tomb. Ian goes on ahead through a secret passage without the Doctor. When Ixta sees this, he closes the passage without telling the Doctor Ian is inside. back inside the tomb. Water starts to rise at Ian's feet.
So episode 3 starts with the revelation, the immediate retcon of Barbara stepping forward.
I love it.
Because it never happens now in this. She never steps toward the fight. She just grabs a knife and holds it to Toxel's neck and is like, here's how I'll stop it. I'll kill you if you don't stop it. And he's like, well, fair game.
The student becomes the master.
Checkmate.
So he stops the fight. And then the doctor in this, he eventually like talks to Toxel, and Toxel's like, I know you guys are all fake. And he's like, well, you know, a way you could prove it is if you could get into that tomb and prove that she stole something from out of there to make you think that she was a god. Well, that'd be all the proof you would need that we're fake, right? So you should get into the tomb and bring us with you. Which is, you know, pretty clever of the doctor. I like how the doctor just keeps trying to find ways to get into the tomb. Like, he never loses focus except for when he's flirting, inadvertently. But even then, he has a goal in mind when he's doing that. So, he's doing his best.
He's kind of like the chaotic good version of the Toxel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. Eon and Ixtal. Eon and Ixta are now friends.
I love
Ixta's like, we're friends now because I beat you. And he's like, you wouldn't have beat me if you hadn't scratched me with that thing. He's like, well, you have thumbs, so all's fair.
We're bros now, but I'm still going to kill you later.
I'm going to definitely kill you later, you son of a bitch.
Best.
Classic Aztec bros being bros.
So then they come up with Toxel comes up with a plan. He's going to prove that Barbara is not a god by poisoning her wine. Mm-hmm. And when she dies, he'll have proved that she wasn't actually God. And if she survives, which she would not because she's not a god, then then proof is that she's a god. Mm-hmm. And it's a real like it's slightly better than the what is it, the Salem witch trials thing of like drowning the witch.
Floats, she's a witch.
Slightly better. Yeah, it's slightly better because if she survives, then it's proof that she's a good thing versus an evil thing.
Right.
Whereas like the Salem witch trial thing, that was a real lose-lose situation.
Yeah. As showcased by the Doctor Who episode, The Witchfinders.
True. Very true. So they're gonna prove this, but Barbara tells Toxel, like, no, you drink it first to prove it, because Eon waves her down from the background to like not drink the wine because it's poison. And she figures out what he's trying to tell her and then doesn't drink it and gives it to Toxel. And he's like, I'm not going to drink it. And she's like, just what I thought. You're trying to poison me. And then shatters it on the ground. She just keeps dodging these tests left and right.
She's on it,
pretty good. Yeah, I know. She's like, I am your Toxa. You will.
You want to come at me? You better come with both eyes open.
Yeah. Then she smashes the wine on the ground and shouts, another. Meanwhile, the doctor's getting married because he drank some cocoa. Oh, my God.
She's like, are you sure you want to share a cup of cocoa? Yeah, why not? Sure.
Put some marshmallows in it. It'll be great.
Just so unaware.
Yeah, no big deal, you know. Like, we're just hanging out. All right? So it's nothing. I just love how much of a commitment phobe the Doctor is and has always been.
From his earliest days.
Yeah, he's so terrified of any kind of commitment.
Nope.
Mm-mm. I'm a bachelor.
I love the face he makes when she's just like, oh, yeah, we're engaged now. That's what that meant. And he's just like, oh, no.
Yeah, I know. Oh, what?
The hell you say?
Excuse me, I couldn't help but I thought I heard you say that we're engaged to be married. That's right. Oh, what?
I did it again.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Barbara is so sure of herself that she just tells Tatoxel the truth. She's like, yeah, no, I'm not Yetaxa, but good luck getting anyone to believe you.
Yeah.
Like it's like that Bill Murray thing where he like shows up, eats food off of somebody's plate, and then just goes, and no one will ever believe you.
Or like in Mad Men, when someone at work would find out, well, like Don Draper, like wasn't who he says it was. Like, yeah, tell someone. Who cares? I'm Don Draper. Like, you know how much money I made this company?
Yeah. No one cares.
No one cares. Yeah. Man, Barbara.
No one cares that I'm not John Draper. They just care that I make this company money.
I kind of really love Barbara in this episode the more I talk about it.
Yeah, no, she's kind of cool. Honestly, she's pretty much killing it.
She has kind of like a Barbara Breaker of Chains thing going on that I don't agree with, but like she's because she talks to the good high priest, auto save, auto lock, like she's so convinced that like the practice of human sacrifice is just like the original sin, like the single thing that will undo Aztec civilization. If she could just change that.
Oh man.
All of Western history will be different.
Yeah. I mean, she's given it a good go, you know?
Yeah.
Gotta respect it.
She read an article.
Yeah. Meanwhile, good wife Susan is just dealing with these guys who they cannot believe that this girl wants to choose her own husband. They are flabbergasted by her. And that's it. It's just a scene of them just being like, I can't believe this one. And they're like, I know.
Say
Crazy.
it again. I don't want to. Oh my God.
I don't want to. I'm on vacation. All right. Well, jeez.
I want to watch just an episode of Carol Ann Ford vacationing around London in the 60s for 2 weeks.
I mean, sure. That's coming. That's coming.
Yeah.
Dalek Invasion of Earth, baby.
Oh, great.
The vacation that's so good, she decides to just move in. Anyway. Then there's this great shot. I mean, truly all-time shot of Eon sharing a bed with Ixta. The only thing that could make it better is if they were spooning.
What are you thinking about, Ian?
With Ian, like, being, like, the big spoon.
Oh, yes, of course.
For sure, definitely.
Big spoon with, like, a worried look on his face. Just like,
I'm in too deep.
I don't know if this is okay.
What have I done?
I'm in too deep. What's going on here? Doctor, can we bring Ixta with us? I think I love him.
That's kind of all three of them are just like, I've made a horrible mistake. Like,
yeah. There's a lot of scenes that end with a character's expression, like a slow zoom into their expression that could easily be played with the Curb Your Enthusiasm music over it. There's at least one per episode for sure.
Gosh.
Yeah. And then we get so he bails, and then he meets the doctor, and he gets followed by Ixta because Ixta's a light sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
And
I missed you, Ian.
Yeah. So the doctor he found like a stone panel that looks like it could be taken away and probably lead to the room where they need to be, where the TARDIS is. And so he's like, Ian, I can't move this thing. I'm a weak old man. Can you please move this? And then tough guy Ian walks up and he moves this supposedly heavy stone panel in the most unconvincing way. Like, I've never seen anything be more obviously styrofoam in my life. It's so funny because later we see Ixta do it, like put it back, you know? And it's because like they move it and then Ian goes inside to like go find the TARDIS and find a way to get everybody else into the tomb. And Ixta shows up and he's like, oh, this stone panel's pulled out of there. I got to put it back. And so he moves it back, and he does a really good job of pretending that this thing is heavy. Ian is not good at that. Mostly because I don't think he's ever lifted anything heavy in his entire life. So he would have no idea what that looks or feels like.
Like maybe like once a year when he moves back into his classroom.
Yeah. Well, not even I don't even think the actor.
He's
the just so strong. Everything feels like styrofoam to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
Look
He's
at
like
that
Superman.
paragon of masculinity.
Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, we have to. Ixta's like, we got to close this off because that whole thing fills with water. And he's like, the doctor's like, what?
Water, you say?
And then you cut to Ian crawling his way through this tomb like I don't know, like air duct or whatever. Turns out it's a water duct, and he looks down and his little toesies are getting wet, and that's the cliffhanger. Oh no, my toesies.
The Aztecs, The Day of Darkness. Directed by John Crockett. Script edited by David Whitaker. Written by John Lucarati. Produced by Verity Lambert. Air date June 13th, 1964. Ian finds a loose slab above his head. He moves it aside and is able to crawl into an ingeniously engineered tunnel system and finds his way back into the TARDIS. He finds Barbara, they find the doctor, and together they free Susan from Ixta and the Aztec warriors' clutches. Before Team TARDIS OG can escape, Ian is framed by Taloxel for beating Otlock with a club. Taloxel plans to trap Barbara in a room during an upcoming eclipse. Meanwhile, Barbara tries to convince Otlock of Ian's innocence, but Otlock doesn't know what to believe anymore. He goes to the Garden of Peace to find Kameka, where he gives her his possessions, house, and rank as the High Priest of Knowledge. He wanders into the wilderness to find himself, but he was most likely mauled to death by a jaguar. As the Doctor and Susan plan their escape, Taloxel tells Barbara that her friends will soon be sacrificed now that Otlock has wandered off into the wilderness to find himself. Kameka, now the High Priest of Knowledge, help Ian and Susan escape, with Ian disguised as a guard. Taloxel orders the real guard to be sacrificed for being such a bad guard. Barbara tries to stop the sacrifice, so Taloxel tries to kill her instead. Ian throws Ixta off the roof of a temple, murdering him and probably changing the course of history. The gang finally escape, wondering if all they did this whole adventure was ruin the lives of several ancient Aztecs. The TARDIS is stationary, but still moving. Barbara speculates that maybe it's stuck inside of something.
He moves another stone tablet-like panel that is above him and leads directly into the tomb he needs to get into. Another styrofoam stone tablet that is ridiculously lightweight.
How convenient.
He's not good. Oh, man, he is not good at faking heavy stuff. So then he comes up with a plan where he's like, okay, so I'm in here. I'm going to get out, but I'm going to put a rope in the door. And that way we can pull on the rope, and then everything should be fine. Like we'll get the door open that way. And then they all meet in the tomb room, and they try to pull on the rope to get the door to open, but the rope snaps. They're like, well, that sucked.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good plan.
Like, okay, it's all right. And Ian's just like, oh, that's all right. I'll just start the level over again. I'll go back over to the stone tablet. We'll just do another take. Here we go. I'll just hold the door open for you guys instead of this stupid rope thing. That's what I should have done to begin with. So he goes back over to the stone tablet, and then there's like a guy knocked unconscious, and he's like, what? And then there's a stick nearby, and he's like, oh no, I'm being framed. And then sure enough, everybody shows up and he's like, hey, this guy hit this guy. And then he's like, okay, well, I guess you're going to have to fight Ixta again. It's like, oh man. And then meanwhile, the rest of the episode is just devoted to the first Doctor carving a pulley system for the rope so that it won't break this time.
Yeah, dum-dums.
Adventure.
Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna just like carving a wheel. You guys ever heard of a wheel before, Aztecs? No. You ignorant savages. He's ridiculous. Like there's that scene where he's just like smugly carving the pulley like in front of his fiance, just like telling her how they're not going to get married. Yeah. He's like, yeah, no, I'm just carving this thing. Also, yeah, we can't be together. So you're gonna need to get out of here. I need you to go.
You're smothering me.
Yeah, you're smothering me. Here's a like, just go do something else. And then she goes and she talks to the high priest guy, and he's like, hey, here's a deed to my house and a title. Go use this to distract the guard so that we can save Susan. She's like, okay, cool. She's like, hey, guard, I've got the high priest's title and deed to his house. If you want it, it's yours. And he's like, cool, give it to me. She's like, close your eyes. And then Ian hits him from behind. So stupid. Do you imagine being distracted by a deed to someone's house?
Maybe Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah. Ooh. A deed.
A deed, you say? Floats over to it.
So then we get Eon and Ixta, the final battle.
Yeah. The Raylo of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh man. So battle commences, and they hug a couple of times, and then Ixta ends up falling off the roof. To his death.
Really, yeah, no, accurately stated. He falls off the roof. That's how it feels. It feels like two knuckleheads were like having a fight on a roof of a building, and then just like they horseplayed too hard.
Yeah. Apparently, Ixta's death wasn't enough for the rain gods or whatever, because as soon as they're all together, there's like another sacrifice ready to go. And they're like, well, we can't really do anything to stop that, so let's go.
His name was Perfect Victim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the first time Ian has killed somebody?
I don't know.
In the show, yeah.
Poor Ian. He just wakes up in a cold sweat. Oh God, remember that time I killed that guy?
He definitely killed some people in World War II, for sure.
Those are Jerry's.
Yeah, that's true. They weren't people.
Nazi ain't got no humanity, Scott.
True. And then the doctor says this thing, because like Barbara's really upset because they sacrificed somebody, and she's like, they're still sacrificing people, even though I told them not to, and how stupid it is. And they're like, they'd still sacrifice people, and they're still going to get killed by the Spanish. And he's like, well, the doctor goes, well, listen, you failed to save a civilization, but at least you saved one man. And I'm like, that's kind of Doctor Who in a nutshell, isn't it? Like, yeah. That's literally the end of the Pompeii episode.
That made me think about it too.
If you can convince one person to walk away from their faith,
that's all you can do.
Yeah, it's all you can do in this life.
Yeah. So then they bail, and then the TARDIS is saying that it has stopped moving, but is also moving simultaneously. And the doctor's like, "Whoa, that doesn't make any sense at all." And then that's when Barbara's like, "Well, maybe we landed in something." And they're like, "What?" And that was
like a Minoc.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what I thought too. I'll tell you this, I'll spoil this ending. It's not nearly as exciting. They're just in another larger spaceship.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally feels like they're talking about like, oh no, we're in like a giant space slug or a space whale or something, some kind of creature. But no, they're in another spaceship.
Just a big old mouth.
The thing that the TARDIS has done like a bajillion times.
And will continue to do.
Yeah. But anyway, that's that one, and that is leading into one of the most boring episodes, the Sensorites.
Yeah, I literally don't even remember what happens in that one.
Oh man, it is long and it is boring.
Yay!
Yeah. But
can't wait.
The Sensorites aren't the Sensorites. They retcon the Sensorites to be like the Vulcans to the what are the little squid face guys? What are their names?
Face guys?
Yeah, with the orb.
Oh, the Ood.
Oh, the Jadoon? The Ood.
The Ood, yeah. They're like the Oods, like Romulans to their Vulcans or whatever.
So like similar makeup.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. I think they said something. They made that like a continuity thing in a later episode. Yeah. They're both like from the same species, and then they like diverted into two different species.
Like orcs and goblins.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, I think that's right. Maybe I'm misremembering, and the Sensorites are definitely a sibling species to a New Who species. I think it's the Ood, might be the Silence or whatever the hell those things are called.
The Silence was an organization, Scott.
No, I know that's I don't know what those things were called. The memory
No, they were
suckers.
Silence, like silent with a T.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
The
Amazing
Silence.
storytelling.
Stupid.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, it's a different. You spell it different. That's why they're different.
Thanks, Moffat.
Singular versus plural.
What's another word for river, everybody?
It's a pond.
Oh, cut the check.
Oh man. Anyway, so that's the Aztecs.
The Aztecs.
Not bad. What did you guys think of the Aztecs? Just, I mean, Cass has seen it before, I know, but
I've seen it before.
I really liked it. I liked it. It seemed it was a lot of fun. I liked the much like Marco Polo. The Gianluca Rotti seems to have a genuine affinity and curiosity for history, and I thought this was a very entertaining story.
yeah. How was it revisiting it, Cass?
Just as entertaining as I was hoping it would be. I keep trying to think of like what first Doctor story I would sit somebody down who had never seen Classic Who, but I guess the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, Aztecs makes sense because it's like only 4 episodes. There's silly Ian fighting and Barbara being a goddess and whatever.
Right.
Susan's not as egregious.
Susan being groomed to be like a sister wife or something.
Yeah, because there's better episodes of the first Doctor's era, but like a lot of the best ones don't exist, or they're like a little too like continuity complicated, like the monk episode, yeah, I mean that's a great episode, but it's also it like requires a little more Doctor Who knowledge, I think. Or like the 10th Planet, which is like an all-timer, but it's also like his final story. And he's barely in it.
Honestly, as far as historicals go, I like Marco Polo more, but I think like a silly Hartnell one that's like more science fiction, I would probably show somebody The Web Planet because A, it's wonderful, and B, it's very silly.
That's true. That is true. Web Planet's a goodie.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. That could be something that we do every time we wrap up a Doctor, is we sort of like look back and sort of like award certain episodes, certain types, you know, where it's like, this was the best episode of the era. This is like the best like first story for someone to watch of this Doctor, and et cetera, et cetera. I think that could be fun, a fun thing to do in the future. Anyway, all right. Well, that's the Aztecs. Next time we'll be back with Evil of the Daleks, which is a 6-part story. So that'll be a couple of episodes that we'll be talking about that. And it does not exist, or most of it does not exist. The majority of it does not exist. So we'll be doing a lot of reconstructions. So a lot of those, if not all of them, are available on YouTube. So you guys can follow along if you ever want to watch one of those. But if not, I get it. I totally get it. You can just listen to our episode next week and get the gist of it. That's why we do this. So anyway. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you're not already part of the Facebook group, you should do that. That is the Doctor's Companion something. I mean, you can probably just search Doctor's Companion. You'll find it. I forget what the name of our Facebook
Isn't
group is.
Isn't it just the Doctor's Companion listeners group?
I'm pretty sure.
Is it just a listener group?
Yeah, listener group.
Doctor's Companion listener group. Okay, we didn't have come up with a
really creative.
We didn't do a clever thing. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, go join us over there. Join the discussion. Let us know what you think of the Aztecs. If you are not already a Patreon supporter, we appreciate everyone who does that. That's duelinggenre.com/support. We only ask for $3 a month for our Patreon supporters, and you get lots of bonus content over there. And the more Doctor's Companion support that we get on our Patreon, the more Doctor's Companion-centric stuff we'll do for the Patreon page, or at the very least, we'll not have like another 9-month hiatus. If we have a little more support from you guys over there, that would be helpful.
Just a little support.
Just a little support. So that's duelinggenre.com/support. Our TeePublic store is duelinggenre.com/merch. You can go there, buy anything in our shop or anywhere in TeePublic. We'll get a little cut. And the same goes for duelinggenre.com/Amazon. All of those things help us out a lot. It keeps the lights on and helps us continue on this long way around Doctor Who. So that's what we're doing, and we'll be back next time with The Evil of the Daleks. Bye.